Happy New Year, everyone, and thank you for your support throughout the year. And I want to welcome you guys to the 3rd Annual Trophy Awards. This series will run for the next 30 days and will award games for many categories, including the fan favorites, easiest and hardest platinum trophies of 2015. Now, this year we're going to kick things off by looking at my top 20 PS4 games of 2015. The order of the top 4 were actually voted on by you guys in a poll I ran over at Twitter, which, by the way, you should follow me at PS4_trophies, as I'll be seeking your thoughts and opinions for future videos. Now, without further ado, let's kick things off. Alright, kicking things off here at number 20 is Ready at Dawn's The Order 1886. Now, this was the most anticipated game heading into the beginning of 2015. Now, the excitement for this game's amazing graphics was certainly met, but what fans didn't expect to find was a game lacking in combat and relying more on a very short cinematic experience. Now, what combat was in the game was unimaginative and boring, especially against the werewolf-like enemies called Lycans. Even with all its faults, it's hard not to be in awe of the stunning graphics and the amazing, brilliant score, the soundtrack for the game. Now, I really do hope Ready at Dawn gets another crack at this franchise because it has so much potential. And if you're a trophy hunter, try to pick this up at a bargain bin price because it's one of the easiest platinums you'll find. Alright, number 19 is Call of Duty Black Ops 3. Now, I know I'm going to get a little hate for this. Let me explain. This came out on November 6th. Fallout 4 came out 4 days later, and I actually received my copy of Fallout before Call of Duty. So I didn't really have a whole lot of time to play this game. I did play the single-player campaign, and I did play a little bit of the multiplayer beta. Now, the beta, I just was kind of a little turned off. I'm not a big online Call of Duty fan. I feel like the jetpack thing, it was just too much for me. I liked the more simpler approach that they had in Call of Duty for Modern Warfare. Now, the single player campaign is certainly fun. It certainly is got big set pieces and a lot of explosions. So for that, it does make the top 20 at number 19. The Vanashing of Ethan Carter takes number 18. Now, this is an atmospheric adventure puzzle game that does not feature combat. One of 2 such games actually on this list. It uses the environment to tell the story where you play as a detective to solve the mystery of a missing boy. Now, completing the puzzles will tell the backstory of what happened and features a really great, clever ending. It's a beautiful game with great storytelling and thoughtful puzzles. Now, some of those can actually be a little difficult to solve due to the game not holding your hand at all throughout the entire game. Number 17 is Just Cause 3. Now, this is the most over-the-top, ridiculous game of destruction you'll come across, and it's all intentional. Forget realism when it comes to playing this game. The game doesn't take itself seriously, and neither should you. Your character is equipped with multiple tethers that you can use to attach to objects and then retract. For example, attach a tether to a car, then attach another to an exploding barrel, for which there are literally thousands scattered around, and then retract them and watch them come together in a fiery explosion. Your imagination is the only limitation here in this fun open world sandbox. Rainbow Six Siege comes in at number 16, and it's a game that relies heavily on teamwork for it to reach its full potential. It's a refreshing approach to multiplayer in a day where Twitch shooters reign supreme. When done right, this game is a lot of fun with a full team of friends or the occasional group of randoms where they're willing to work together. Now, the downside of this game is a number of players who don't play it the right way and instead just run and gun through the situations. Perhaps Ubisoft put too much faith in the players to play the intended way. Nevertheless, when you pit up 2 teams who are willing to play the right way, this is one of the most fun and satisfying multiplayer experiences you'll find. I will say that I just wish there were more options unlocked from the beginning. The system of unlocking kind of stands in its own way. But let's not forget that this game would have also benefited greatly from having a real single-player campaign. Star Wars Battlefront comes in at number 15. Now, this is the multiplayer game that I've really been looking forward to. For me, I don't have the time to devote hundreds of hours into a multiplayer experience, and what usually happens is that the player base will tend to quickly outpace my own ability. Now, Battlefront is designed with simplicity in mind, where you can just pick it up for an hour or 2 and be just as valuable to your team as those have been playing religiously from launch. Of course, the simplistic nature of the game is what tends to turn off the hardcore shooter fans. But this is Star Wars, and the graphics are absolutely gorgeous, and hearing the music will really bring you to your youth. Now, this is a game that also would have benefited greatly from having a single-player campaign, a mistake that I hope DICE does not repeat in the inevitable sequel. For the second time in this list, I will feature a game that uses exploration in favor of combat. That brings us to number 14, Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. This game is about 6 connected people where you need to find memories and events that will further explain the story, a story mysterious in nature. You are put into a world void of anyone else and the ability to freely explore a large county in a quite soothing experience, while at the same time a very creepy experience. One can argue that this game is nothing but a walking simulator because you'll spend the majority of the time walking very slowly from location to location, but that doesn't take away from the wonderful experience you will get out of this game. Coming in at number 13 is Battlefield Hardline. Now this is a game that a lot of people either love or hate. Now for every person who likes Battlefield Hardline, there's someone that hates it, maybe even 2 people that hated it. But the biggest amount of hate is really from the multiplayer. It's a game that tried to be more fast-paced in its approach to the multiplayer, which for the die-hard Battlefield fans was a big turnoff. Now personally I enjoyed this new take on Battlefield and played more of this online than any other in the franchise. The cops and robbers motif was a welcome change for me, but that wasn't enough for the millions of Battlefield hardcore fans who have since gone back to Battlefield 4. Rocksteady Studios' Batman Arkham Knight comes in at number 12. Now this is a game that has somehow managed to make combat even more fun and varied than in the past years, with an even better and more visually striking Gotham City. The formula hasn't changed much this time around, with the exception of the highly anticipated playable Batmobile. Now this is definitely the thing that players are most excited about from the early trailers in the game. As it turns out, Batmobile is the reason why I didn't truly enjoy this game even more. It's a blast to drive around Gotham City, but the Batmobile quickly kind of gets in the way of the overall enjoyment of the game. You need to use it to solve puzzles and you need to enter tank mode with it all the time. And while it's a joy the first few times, these new gameplay mechanics, particularly the tank mode, start to become exceptionally tedious really quick, and the game for some reason forces an excessive use of these gimmicks, especially if you're going after the Platinum Trophy. Outside of the Batmobile, it's a brilliant game, hands down. Being from a generation that grew up on an 8-bit style games, I was delighted to find out how great my 11th favorite game of 2015, Shovel Knight, was. It was perfected really the 2D platforming genre with great art style and sound design. I do feel the number of retro 8-bit style games is getting a little out of control, but if you're going to play just one, this is the one to play. It does have that challenge that old school players will appreciate, but a checkpoint system that wasn't present on the original titles for the newer audience. Of course, it's optional to use those checkpoints as you can destroy them at any time. The boss fights are fun, and each one is presenting you with a different and unique challenge. Of course, us PS4 players can find and unlock the Kratos costume from God of War. Coming in at number 10 is Uncharted, the Nathan Drake Collection. Now normally I don't like to include remastered versions of old games in any top 10 lists or anything like that, but I am making an exception because this is Uncharted, perhaps the most important franchise for PlayStation and developed by one of the best in the business, Naughty Dog. Of course, this is a collection of the original 3 PS3 games, ported actually by Blue Point Games. Now what surprised me was the number of people who have never played Uncharted until this collection. And this collection collectively won many Game of the Year awards, especially Uncharted 2. This remastered collection is a must-have for anyone whose first Sony console is the PS4, or if for some reason you never played it on PS3. Coming in at number 9 is Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Now many players cautiously jumped back into the world of Assassin's Creed after the struggles Unity faced a year earlier. Now I have never been a fan of Assassin's Creed. I couldn't get past the terrible navigation of climbing up and down, or the absolutely horrible repetitive missions, especially the ones that required me to patiently follow a target. Syndicate is the first in the franchise that I fell in love with. The missions were far more varied and less obnoxious. Traversal was made much easier, especially with the addition of the grappling hook zipline feature. But most importantly, the ability to switch between the two main protagonists, each of whom had their own personality and motivations. Now, if you're looking for a reason to return to the Assassin's Creed universe, this is it. And if you've never played an Assassin's Creed before, you can jump right in with zero knowledge of the series and have a whole lot of fun. Coming in at number 8 is Dying Light. This released back in January 27th. It was so long ago, I almost forgot it was 2015. Dying Light was the first sleeper hit of the year. It was developed by Techland, who was previously known for the Dead Island games, so many thought this is just going to be another Dead Island. Thankfully, it was so much more than that, and many people predicted this would actually be an early Game of the Year contender. While I argue that the weapon durability system is definitely its weakest link, the game actually does parkour so well that any assassin in Ubisoft's arsenal would be jealous. Perhaps the best part of this game is actually the day-night cycle, where survival in the dark becomes much more frightening. Number 7 is MLB 15 The Show. Now, I know this is not going to appear on anybody else's top 20 list, and I'll admit it's my own personal passion, but it's the one series I love more than any. It's the only game that I play just for myself without any recording software running. When I'm done playing games for YouTube, this is what I'll go to unwind at the end of the night. Now, not much has to be said about what makes this a great game. If you love baseball, you will love this game. The visuals and the physics are so very well done that it's easy to forget that you're actually playing a game. As far as I'm aware, actually, this is the only exclusive PS4 game that was made by a first-party studio in 2015. There have been other exclusive games published by Sony, but those were developed by third-party studios. Coming in at number 6 and just barely missing the top 5 is Until Dawn. Now, this took the world by storm in what was a huge breakout hit for Sony, where choices you make throughout the story-driven game had meaningful impacts on the outcome of the game, in a fashion similar to Quantic Dream games such as Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, but even better. Now, what looked to be nothing more than just a horror-themed game in the style of a teen slasher flick from the 80s, you quickly realize that there's so much more here. The story features some great plot twists and life or death decisions that you must make within seconds. It's a game where you can have any combination of characters survive or die before the ending. In a year that was filled with an overabundance of open-world games, it was refreshing to know that they could still make a great 8-hour experience that you want to go back to and play again just to see how other decisions would have played out. Rocket League is hands down the best indie game developed in 2015, and that's why it comes in at number 5. Now, this has sales that actually have exceeded many AAA games and is one of the best games ever offered for free as part of your PlayStation Plus subscription. It offers very simplistic gameplay for anyone to jump into while providing advanced players the tools needed to pull off some amazing trick shots. It's a really great party game that can be enjoyed with a group of friends or in a lobby of strangers, where good team play and a mix of chaos come together and really provide hours upon hours of enjoyment. If there is one fault, it's the lack of differentiation between the many different vehicle types. But if that's the worst part of this game, you know it's truly special. Coming in at number 4 and earning the bronze trophy in our Game of the Year here with 19% of the vote is Bloodborne. Now, Bloodborne is an action RPG game that has surprised me in its popularity, mostly because of how brutally difficult it can actually be, especially in the early stages of the game. Now, I love this game, but boy, did it test my patience at times. But that patience was always rewarded with such a high level of satisfaction and pride each time I would finally defeat one of the game's brutal bosses. This is the only game on the list where I thought I was going to hate it, but really came to truly love it after playing it. The atmosphere and visual details are beautiful, stunning, and gorgeous. The combat, weapons, and mechanics were incredibly well designed, and each death really comes with a price. For a hardcore game as this to be so beloved is a testament to just how great this game is. It is the PS4's best exclusive title of 2015. Coming in at number 3 and earning the silver trophy is Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain with 20% of the vote. Now, Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain was Hideo Kojima's final project with Konami. While I have no love for Konami, I do love how great this game looked, but the biggest enjoyment can be in the actual gameplay and how you can accomplish any of the missions. You can watch 5 different Let's Play videos for a single mission and see it play out 5 different ways. The research upgrade system had a massive level of depth with complexity to it that allows you to tailor your Snake to your playstyle, with the choice between several buddies you can bring along with you on each of the missions, with each of their own gameplay mechanics. For those of you who are deeply aware of the story of the Metal Gear Solid franchise, you will find a complete rich story here. If you haven't played earlier games, you'll miss out on some of the elements in play here, as was the case for me, but you'll pick it up just enough to enjoy the story. Coming in second place and earning the gold trophy with 29% of the vote is Fallout 4. Fallout 4 was everyone's most anticipated game when it was announced, just 5 months prior to its release. I'd love to see all publishers announce their games and then release them within 6 months. Fallout 4 takes what people loved about Fallout 3 and New Vegas and kind of streamlined it. Gunplay is far better and the environments are very well done, and I certainly appreciated a little color added to the world, especially in the town called Diamond City. First time I walked into Diamond City, which was Fenway Park prior to the bombs falling, that was a special moment for me. It was then when I really appreciated the design, the art, the level of detail Fallout 4 provided. The entire Boston City area was well crafted, along with the wasteland areas around the Commonwealth. While Fallout 4 didn't break much ground from a technical standpoint, especially graphically, it was very easy to fall in love with this more action-oriented Fallout title. The winner of the Platinum Trophy Award for the Best PS4 Game of 2015, with 32% of the vote, goes to The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now, this is the only game that I felt was worth far more than the $60 retail price tag. The game is an enormous open-world RPG where actions that you take can have major consequences later on. With such a large scope, I never actually felt that I was just repeating the same quest over and over. And unlike Fallout 4, The Witcher 3 proves that you can have a large open-world game and have a stunning level of graphics and high level of detail across the entire world, a beauty that was previously only achievable in smaller linear games. This world is absolutely gorgeous, with equally impressive characters and monsters that you'll come across. The amount of things that you can do in this game and the people that you can talk to is all put into the game with a purpose. Most open world games of this scale will just fill the environment with filler quests, many of which are just copy and pasted over and over. So that'll conclude my top 20 games of 2015. I want to thank all of you if you made it this far into the video. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite games of 2015 were, and we'll see you on the next Trophy Awards show. And until next time, happy trophy hunting.